Thank you for tuning in to the Edalex podcast. We are an edtech whose mission is to surface learning outcomes, digital assets, and the power of individual achievement. Each episode features thought-provoking conversations with global technology leaders and educators, where we discuss how we can deliver better outcomes for 21st century learners.
Hi, I'm Dan McFadyen, co-founder and managing director at Edalex. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Taylor Kendal. Taylor is an educator, systems thinker, digital nomad, novelty junkie, and president of the nonprofit Learning Economy Foundation. Beyond work with LEF, he is also a community steward with ETH Denver, which is the largest Web3 hackathon in the whole world, and is focused on equitable social impact, Web3, digital identity and privacy, exploring the future of education and digital trust, and occasionally writing to make sense of it all. Taylor, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dan, good to see you, and thanks for making space.
My pleasure. And we first met back in 2021. We were part of a Skills Collaborative project with the Open Skills Network, and LEF was assisting with that. And that was, for us, that was a really formative and insightful process. It really helped inform our Open RSD platform, and LEF's role in that was really instrumental. So thank you for that. And it's great to connect again. And maybe that's a good place to start. LEF has such a great track record up until that point, and then since then it's just been amazing. So we'd love to hear if you can share more about LEF, your history, your mission, and what you've been working on.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you the abbreviated version here, and it's funny. I mean, I came on having spent a lot of time in sort of traditional post-secondary and just working on sort of systems change. And when it hit my radar, and I met some of the folks that had been thinking about it, I didn't have another option but to say I'd love to support and come on board. So the thinking and sort of I believe strongly in allowing serendipity to do its work. We have a close friend, Simone Ravioli, who calls himself a serendipity engineer, and I think there are folks that play that role in the world. But yeah, the sort of inception and some of the early thinking, which I then bought into, was born. Chris Pierrefoy, our CEO, likes to talk about, like, quite literally at high altitude. There were some folks in Switzerland dreaming big about what the future of education could ultimately look like. This was at a time when new digital assets and digital currencies and cryptocurrencies were sort of starting to hit the radar. The Bitcoin white paper had been dropped into the world. So as the story goes, there was a number of sort of big thinkers imagining what it would look like for, quite literally, rethinking a new economic model where knowledge and skills and education sort of sat at the center and was the currency of value. So quite literally human capital, as sort of this base asset that we could build on top of, as opposed to I think more traditional capital that we all are still perfectly happy to use and interact with. So that was the sort of origin, just really trying to rethink what it would mean for human beings and the data they produce to be a form of currency where you could think about new economic systems. So hence Learning Economy Foundation sort of being born. I came on a year into that project, which was a lot of thinking, a lot of community development, a lot of sort of R&D to that point, and for another couple of years into the project, which again, origins were 2017 timeframe. But since then, we've sort of moved from a lot of R&D work into more practical, let's really put some of these ideas into action. So just in the last couple of years, I guess have sort of shifted into really trying to support the projects that are proving impactful. You mentioned the Open Skills Network. There's others that fit into that bucket, but yeah, that's the not so quick and dirty version of how LEF was born.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. Now, this one area that I love to zoom in on and really explore with you, which is LearnCard, an open source digital wallet. What does that mean? What does it do, and who's it for?
Yeah, so part of that sort of shift into, I guess, the practical and trying to build some technology that's useful to bring about that future, the future state of learning as currency. LearnCard as a software developer kit, SDK, was sort of born. We've got a really impressive technical team, Learning Economy Studios, that sort of sits alongside Learning Economy Foundation. And the thinking was there's a lot of interest in portable assets, even beyond education, digital wallets. These things started to emerge. We all sort of, those in the privileged Western world certainly leverage a digital wallet in some sense, whether it's, credentials for boarding a flight, whether it's, Apple or Google Pay, we all have versions of these things. So the thought was, let's build something that's radically accessible, that is open source and free for those that, want to sort of start this journey, and put together some very deeply technical standards and try to abstract that into the background and let them be the power, but then also build front-end components that make for, really usable applications that individuals can actually interact with. So yeah, less a singular application, more a starting point and collection of sort of components. A lot of our origins come from work with Lego. So we have a lot of that sort of mental frame. What does it mean to sort of get these powerful blocks and construct them into things that are helpful and useful? And LearnCard kind of represents that for learner credentials, worker credentials. Not trying to be the next Apple Pay. That's not the goal. Open source learning and employment infrastructure by way of an SDK. Yeah, that's the idea.
Right. And Legos is, I think, a very apt metaphor for, as you said, that the building blocks and connecting them in different ways, and connect them you have. So I'd love to explore what you've done with the Scouts. And as an Eagle Scout myself, the concept of earning badges, merit badges or digital badges, certainly resonates, and the Scouts globally is an organization that's been doing the recognition of skills for 110 plus years. So they've got a great history there. So tell me about that. What with Scout Pass? What is that about, and how have the Scouts put it to the test?
Yeah. Very exciting. And we enter, as you say, I think we enter that project as learners, those that have been thinking about recognition and, badging and credentialing and these sorts of things largely in an analog sense, for 100, quite literally 100 plus years. So, feel super fortunate to have had the opportunity to partner up and explore what it would mean to take, a lot of their deeper methodology and experience and pair it with a version of LearnCard. Scout Pass was sort of born out of those two worlds coming together. And yeah, it's early, but we're excited about. I mean, we launched just actually a few months ago, sort of more formally they have a few broad global convenings, so had a chance to put it into the hands of a number of Scouts. Issued, I think, 50 or 60,000 badges within Scout Pass. So these are digital forms of recognition, all sorts of fun things like troop leaders, and we have a long, fun, playful list of means with which Scouts can offer recognition, in a formal and informal setting. So, the hope and thought is moving that into another phase. We're actually actively working with a few partners to bring that into broader contexts into other countries. There are this wild. I've learned a lot about sort of the network that is the Scouts and their sort of broader overarching movement, and how global and universal it really is. It reaches nearly every country on earth. So excited to see where it goes. But we're just moving out of sort of an initial proof case and phase to say, yeah, this is a good marriage, bringing open source digital infrastructure to the open recognition OGs, as it were, that have been doing this stuff for a long time. Super cool partnership. We feel very fortunate.
Well said. And I'm sure there's feelings are mutual. So yeah, let's drill in a bit more. And you've already given the examples of Google Pay or the Apple Wallet. So most people will be familiar with those. But what sort of functionality are you bringing to the Scouts? What can they do with Scout Pass? And yeah, what brings them back, and some of your thoughts for where you'd like to take this?
Yeah, I mean, leaning back on the sort of Lego metaphor, I mean, I think the goal and hope is always to meet folks where they are. So really being sort of contextually responsive, making it feel like it's a native application that folks are used to. So colors and iconography, we've built in a lot of sort of Scout native visualizations. Got a campfire as sort of the central button for the home, like a lot of fun things. So that's one, just from it's why I think we've embraced just open interoperable technology as opposed to singular built for one use case sort of tech. LearnCard really can become a number of things given the context. So one, it's a fun portal that is familiar to Scouts. Deeper under the hood, from a more practical sort of functional standpoint, we rely heavily on verifiable credentials, which is sort of this really powerful open web standard pioneered through W3C and the World Wide Web Consortium, powerful standards body for the internet itself. And we see that being really important. So as opposed to just a digital image or a PDF or something that can get passed along, what does it mean to actually have sort of data rich, in this case, badges or means of recognition in the Scouts context? Not only, yes, be fun and visually appealing, things that you can share and sort of be playful with, but also have deep trust and sort of cryptographic security baked in, having some of the Scouts sort of bodies be part of the sort of trust that these things are being issued from a trusted organization. They come with real important meaning and value, and then being able to translate that through these badges or credentials. And again, individuals don't necessarily need to know that, but from a ethical perspective and just I think a perspective of just building social good and useful impact in the world. This isn't about how do we make money off data that is being shared. That's sort of the traditional model. And again, not casting a ton of judgment. I think there are a lot of things broken with ad driven models and all the things that come with that. But again, back to the idea of a learning economy where knowledge and skills ultimately are the currency. Trying to use some of these new standards and deeper protocols to build that value into these new forms of credentials or badges or forms of recognition. So yeah, this is we love complexity. Baking all that into a very usable platform is the work at hand, but it's fun, and we've I think at least shown that it's possible. We've got a long way to go to kind of move some of these things to scale, but we're on the path.
Well, and I would say 50, 60, 70,000 credentials in the first one. I was reading in the first week.
It was within a weekend. Yeah, it was a good test too.
Yes.
We learned where our limits are as far as scaled credential issuance in a short period of time.
Yeah, well, that is a very, very public test. So, and great to hear about that success. And so much of what you're saying, Taylor, is music to my ears, and really so close to our focus and passion at Edalex around skills, and recognizing that as the currency, and enabling everyone to follow whatever pathway or pathways that they will seek to. I want to pull on a thread a little bit more. You one of the comments that I love that you just made was about meeting people where they are, and so for the youths in the Scouts organization, or through your work with Lego Foundation, they're digital natives, right? So this is the space where they are, and so that, yeah, again, I think bringing that analog concept of a merit badge that goes on your sash, or goes in a closet somewhere, to taking it to these verifiable credentials that now the Scouts or the leaders or the troops can share. So you're really creating much more agency for them in terms of their recognition, their hopefully, yeah, giving them a voice for those skills that they've earned, but then, yeah, the ability to share and use those, more than this badge that just gets sewn onto something and largely forgotten.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what we've learned is, I mean, it's both. There's absolute value in the ephemeral, in like I am like one of a small cohort that still actually does a lot of like trading card. Like, I've got all kinds of interesting, fun things, and I'm like, I wouldn't let go of that. I was never a Scout, but so it's definitely both, right? It's like, what does it mean to both, through the digital means, recognize what's so valuable about the physical, and vice versa, being able to move. We do have these new tools and technologies that are so powerful, and so bringing digital representations of that stuff obviously opens up new doors. So we've learned a lot about why it's absolutely both. I think we come from sort of a digital first mindset, which it's that's why it's a fun project. I mean, I think we're both learning a lot in each direction.
Brilliant. And so then broadening out, why now? Why is now the time for digital wallets? You mentioned Apple and Google. So is it partially that? Is it COVID, and that for many of us, we're used to having to share that concept of, yes, here's my vaccination status, or is it the technology, or we are becoming a digital first or digital and analog world? But yeah, do you think people are ready, from that experience with Scouts, with Lego, with other partners, or is the world ready for this, or we're still all learning?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's an evolution. I would say there's no sort of point at which I will say, I mean, there's a component that just feels like a bit of an imperative because of the breakdown of trust in institutions. I think there's some bigger stories at play as to why moving these directions makes sense, and trying to really build ethical and human-centered systems. Like, much bigger conversation. We could probably have a whole nother hour on. So one, like, yes, in certain contexts, we're learning folks are absolutely ready. Like, and I think you're in a similar position with Edalex. You're starting to identify, those that are willing to sort of push forward, maybe more aggressively than they would have in the past.
Right.
Finding new paradigms, really trying to change systems for the better. So one, yes, folks are ready, but meeting people where they are, like, we're I think just open to find the right partnerships and the right folks that feel like it's the right time. But on top of that, this is maybe more personal than coming from LEF, which is, I also just think there's broader societal factors that I'm compelled to do some of the work just because I think we're seeing where, the sort of traditional or sort of Web 2 sort of digital systems are not always serving those that need it most. Certainly, individuals as unique humans kind of get lost in the corporate structure or the ad model or the, take your pick. But like, I think that's part of the goal is to recenter each person in their own, digital lives. What does it mean for me to have agency, true autonomy, like, and see that the things I can know and do have value in the world, mapping those to opportunity. So yeah, big. I'd love to just kind of stay on that thread all day.
Yeah, well,
it does feel like the piece that really pulls me personally.
Yeah. Well, no, and I agree. Yes, I think we'll stay here a little bit longer just because it's an area I'm absolutely passionate about as well. I'm thinking about, the college degree is no longer the signal to hire or the currency that it once was. So how do we give people that voice for their skills, for their achievements, what they're capable of, and given declining tertiary education participation around the world, and yet we have full employment in a number of countries around the world as well. So that the war for talent. So there's so many push and pull factors here that it really does make sense on so many levels to enable the learner, that recipient to have agency and to give them that voice. So you've built, so then coming back to reluctantly coming off of our soapbox, and then coming back to LearnCard. So you've created this as open source software, which is wonderful, and we work on an open source platform as well, in OpenAquila. So it's something that we feel very passionate about as well. So how could an organization, how could they get started? Do you help organizations? And obviously you talked about your great partnerships with the Scouts and with Lego, but how would someone get started? How do they know if LearnCard is right for them?
Yeah, reach out and let's chat about it. That's the easy answer. As you know, that's part of the role I play. I love to just discuss any of this and where it works or makes sense. But I mean, from a practical level, LearnCard.com, we've got sort of an onboard form. We work across sort of three, models or layers. Our sort of initial push is the open source, and if you have folks that have some technical background and can go and make use of this SDK or some of the components being built by the broader ecosystem, certainly OpenAquila, we've got there's any number of organizations that are all plugging into this work and making tools available. So that's always like, don't need us. Go, please make use of these things. They are meant to be sort of tinkered with. Let us know. That's usually we would love to tell the story of any of this stuff that becomes impactful. So that's the one ask on the use of open source. Let us know so we can help kind of tell your story. But yeah, we often offer support and come alongside. So folks that have an interesting idea or a project and just need some kind of lower level technical support or some consulting around how to get moving. We've got a lot of resources and other partners. So most of the work kind of fits in that bucket, and that helps us stay in motion as a nonprofit. And then we also the sort of third option, we also are happy if it's the right fit to just sort of scope what's needed and take it on as a project that we're really leading and kind of doing front to back. But we're open. Easy answer is reach out. We're happy to chat about any of this sort of work and want to help support those that are aligned philosophically and see a similar vision.
That's brilliant. And having met Chris and a number of others at LEF, I've been incredibly impressed with the the passion, but the technical prowess and other aspects that are really important to bring it together as a whole and make it work. So no, that's great. And so what types are you seeing certain types of organizations beyond those? Is it universities? Is it government? Is it nonprofits? Is it companies? For-profits? Where do you, any and all, or where is there a sweet spot for LearnCard?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the double-edged sword of this. I mean, there's very few, I guess, lanes that we don't feel there's reason to sort of play in. So yeah, I mean, I would say all of the above. We've done amazing work at a community college in Tennessee, at Mountain State, currently doing work in Colorado and Montana under the Skills Forward initiative. Right. So very much traditional there, but then, Lego, we've got some interesting things going on with gaming, certainly the Scouts. Those would be considered, I guess, more, non-traditional, non-formal. All of the above. We also still, love to do sort of research and R&D work and have an ongoing research project around LearnCloud, which is this sort of broader umbrella and partnership that we've recently been working towards. So, yeah, I mean, again, I love systems thinking and complexity, and I think most of the folks doing this work kind of have to love complexity to some degree. So, because learning and learning is universal, the diversity of what that represents across contexts, culturally, geographically, that is absolutely unique. So I think we have to be universal in some sense if we're really going to try to move towards this admittedly ambitious vision of a learning economy in a very real sense. We like to look at all angles, and right now there's good momentum in certain pockets, usually driven by leadership and people and folks that have been kind of moving this direction, but we're also open to new angles. There's always something interesting. Obviously, AI and what it represents now has kind of put a new interesting layer over the top of a lot of this work, just with LLMs and sort of data being contextualized in an interesting new way. So we're actively exploring all of that as well right now.
Brilliant. Well, and as you said, it's the complexity and infrastructure and integration behind the scenes to provide that seamless experience for the end users. That's so important. So, and I suppose in terms of keeping you and the rest of the team grounded, having learning economy as the organization's name, that does keep you grounded to say this is our North Star. This is where we're headed to help build the foundations on that. You mentioned LearnCloud, so tell us more. What is that? What's behind that, and what is that enabling?
Yeah, this in some ways was, I guess, always in motion, but only by way of, I think, partnerships and some of the way we saw certain standards and technologies converging. So it was only formalized recently, but we realized that it was sort of kind of always happening, even though we hadn't put like a name on it and really, So what is it? LearnCloud really is a partnership and a suite of tools that we just see as very complementary. So learning economy with LearnCard and that sort of SDK and digital wallet continue to evolve that sort of open source stack, but that's a large piece we're bringing to the table. We've worked closely with the Dexterra Institute for a number of years, and they've done amazing work in sort of just building connectors, means of plugging into more traditional data systems. So things like an SIS or an LMS or, these sort of, powerful, but often old. This is just the reality of how, certainly in a sort of higher ed or post-secondary context, or just any, large educational data system, like these things have evolved and become pretty complicated, but they all matter, and they have, there's large sets of data being used, and often, personal data. So, ton of privacy considerations. Anyway, Dexter has been working in that world and has a lot of aligned sort of, I guess, philosophies around, making things accessible and really trying to build public goods. So they do a lot of really great integral sort of system to system data plumbing work. And then Bright Hive is another organization, public benefit corp that we've worked with quite a bit for a number of years. And they do really amazing, powerful work when it comes to data visualization and analytics, and really, connecting data in a way that's both ethical, but also then actionable. What can you do when you start to connect data sets and systems? And so those the three of us as organizations kind of put the things we do well together. And that is loosely now under this broader banner of LearnCloud, which is our attempt to make new education and learning and employment record infrastructure easy to implement and deploy with whatever sort of suite of those tools is most important for a specific purpose or ecosystem. And also bringing in a number of just powerful data systems, data sets that already exist. So really building out a robust set of existing connections into data that's already out in the world. You guys are certainly squarely in this bucket, knowing well why that's important and how much you can gain out of using data at scale, but also respecting that data is connected to individuals.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's again, with more complexity, it is sort of simple infrastructure, but comes with a lot of history and a lot of expertise that has been developed across our three organizations for a long time.
Wonderful. And well, that list, it's an amazing list of interoperable systems that you've built up over the years. So that's fantastic. Just scrolling through that list of different platforms, data sources, etc., is very impressive. So and as that ecosystem grows, then ultimately the impact that we can make in terms of those LERs and securely transmitting that information between these platforms is incredible.
Yeah, I think we're also like collectively just pushing on the social side of why open data and like trying to break down walls and silos as opposed to erecting new sort of data silos. I think that's probably part of the shared vision, and sits sort of in the ethos bucket across LearnCloud, which is, I think we all want to put a little more pressure on, allowing data to move and be useful to individuals as opposed to, being locked and sort of only having value to maybe a single organization, often some corporate interest, whatever that might look like. So yeah, breaking down the barriers around data that ultimately we as individuals are creating. This is,
well, that's right.
But it is data is. Yeah.
Yeah, we should own it, right? So the owners need to be in control, have agency over their own data. So that is, and there is a huge tug of war, as you know, very, very well. So kudos to you and your partners on what you're doing there. Now I've taken up a lot of your time, but I do have two more questions for you. So time to bring out your crystal ball. And with your work in the digital wallet space, where do you think we'll be in 5 years? Which on the one hand seems like a long way off, but at the pace at which the months are rolling by, it'll be here seemingly tomorrow. But yeah, where would you like to see things shaping up in that space?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you at least said 5. I feel like I can still like feel useful in that time frame. You start getting into 10 years plus, and the answer will always be, I have no idea.
Yeah. And that's the wisest answer. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I think where I hope will be, and where I truly do think we will be, and it isn't just hopeful, is just seeing more sort of connection points around those already doing this sort of work, and interoperable systems where I, as an individual, have both the freedom to make choices, both when it comes to technology, but also just, how that enables various decisions, what school I'm going to, how that maps through to certain jobs that really fit my interests and my skill sets. So I really do think in 5 years, we're going to be in a very interesting place, and hopefully really see a sort of rebalancing socially of those that have had access and opportunity, and those that really haven't, either by bad luck or quite direct, like systematic exclusion of having opportunity to certain things. So I hope to see that sort of rebalancing by way of these open tools and technologies, where I, at a fraction of the cost. And again, I think the sort of most optimistic version of some of these LLMs and the AI wave sort of hitting us in the face, there's a version of this I think that's very important and powerful. So those things converging with some of the tools, again, LearnCard being one of many, but it's seeing a very different sort of architecture and complexion to what education represents. It's not about getting the singular degree from Harvard or name your Ivy of choice, or I don't know what the Ivy League equivalent in Australia
the
is.
Sandstone Universities of Australia. So yes,
Sandstone.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot more empowerment, both at the institutional level when it comes to trade schools and community colleges, and those doing just really, powerful, practical work, plugging into industries and jobs that are available. Seeing that all just continue to blur, and folks feeling like they have, the tools and resources to make the choices that they feel, or their network or their parents feel, those that are part of that sort of influence, that sphere of influence, feeling like those are very real choices, as opposed to, right now it's kind of like, cool, there's some interesting tools, but like, of course I still only have this one avenue, and I've got to go take on this big loan to get the singular degree.
Right.
So I think that sort of mindset will, it's probably a full generational. So that's what, 5 years is like, still feels like we're in some of that transition. But yeah, it's I'm an eternal optimist. I really do think that we're moving that direction, even though there's a lot going on outside of just the education sort of employment space that is putting certain pressures, and there are other sort of power dynamics and incentives at play that that are going to be the sort of both the pull and the push to move, I think, in that direction. I'm hopeful.
Great. I think that's a wonderful and very compelling vision. And you touched on it a little bit earlier. In referencing the non-formal. So hopefully, as part of this world, it is informal, non-formal, as well as the formal education and true lifelong learning that ultimately enables everyone to rise to their capability and their interest and passion. So wonderful.
Where is their value in the world, and giving people, like, wherever that can be identified, like I want that to speak to people in a very direct way, and not feel like you have to be pulled or pushed in any singular direction based on prior existing social structures or corporate interests, whatever it might be. So opening up the value channels that we all know exist in all sorts of interesting places. That's the vision.
Excellent. No, well, so then, and that's a perfect segue into my final question for you, which is then around Learning Economy Foundation. So where then will you be and the organization be in 5 years, and how do you guess what else do you need to do, or how do you is your role shifting across those 5 years to help make and working with many partners around the world, but to where will the organization be in 5 years to help make this happen?
Yeah, that is part of what I love about the work, is that it's really hard to say, but I do feel, fairly strong about the existing sort of momentum and projects we have moving, and furthering those, finding others that want to kind of be a part of a similar sort of movement. So I would say twofold. It's being able to look back at the work that we're doing now, whether it's with the Scouts or any higher ed institutions, state networks, whatever it looks like, and having real data and to be able to point to the impact and say this sort of our theory of change and what we've been working towards really does matter, and it's proving impactful for folks. So really being able to see and point to that data, I think, is in scope. And then I'd also say, I think maybe even beyond 5 years, I think like our signal of success, like we would sort of love to see this open infrastructure just become as ubiquitous and known as, say the internet itself. Some of these, I point to email a lot. This, we kind of all take it for granted, but we communicate digitally daily, and it's taken obviously decades to kind of get there, but having some of this infrastructure exist that is as pervasive, but also sort of invisible in many ways, and is just proving useful to people. And Learning Economy really representing more of a governance body. We've always seen ourselves as sort of stewards. What does it look like for a strong network to just sort of steward this infrastructure out into the world and kind of keep it on positive tracks, but not have to be directly in the line of fire, as it were. So that would be a really strong signal for us to say, oh, we've actually kind of been less prominent or even further into the background, and helping I guess steward what already exists in the world, and not always being right at the front lines of building it. So
wonderful.
It takes a village, and groups like yours, obviously it's been awesome to connect, and I think we share so much in what we're trying to make happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, back to the Skills Collaborative and Open Skills Networks and other ways that our paths cross. So thank you, Taylor, so much for your time today. And thank you to Learning Economy Foundation and all the work that collectively you're doing for humanity, and wonderful to see these fantastic stories. And we'll definitely catch up many times before 5 years from now, but let's mark our calendar for 5 years from now.
Revisit the crystal ball and see where we're at.
We'll see how many cracks are in that ball, but no, I love your vision, and let's work together to help get there. Yeah, wonderful. Well,
awesome.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to this Edalex podcast episode. Don't forget to follow us in your podcast app so you don't miss a thing. And be sure to visit our website at edalex.com to learn more.